Yeah, so here we go again. It is Tuesday, I believe. Let me just double check. It is Tuesday the 25th. The time is 8 p.m. on the spot. Um, I've had a semi-productive day. I didn't achieve what I set out to do, but I believe one of the things is not really doable for me. So, nah. I've been across the border and tanked. Very quick run, took a total of 2 hours side to side. So, you know, uh, not that long. Done 91.8k since tanking. Um, First time I seen the Polish plod at the border, they were together with the German plod on the Polish side, looking toward the German side as if they were looking for someone to be crossing. But with binoculars and all, it's kind of fancy. Interesting enough, their uniforms are camouflaged by looks of it. Unless it was some special plod. Sorry for the camera going off. I have no way of disabling it at this time without being able to guarantee it'll still work when I leave. So I'm leaving it on for the moment. Been across the border, been to the tea joint. Had a couple of teas, a cold brew and a warm one. Surprise, fancy. Tea joint cost me $15 and $5 in parking, so $20 tea joint visit, but it was a long one. Stayed there solid couple of hours, bit more actually. Really happy with that. Good time for reflection and all. And then I was grocery shopping. My bill totaled just over $40, which is good because I had a coupon which was valid from $40 on. So I ended up paying $40 and 31 euro cents. Not too bad. I only got 8 milks because I'm planning on leaving town shortly. Got a whole bunch of snacks for the road because if I don't want to be smoking all the time, I'll need snacks. And it might just be imaginary, but I believe the CBD stuff still do give you some form of munchies. So when I gotta do what one I gotta do. I will have to roll a load of CBD blunts sometime soon. I'm hoping to be driving tomorrow night and arriving day after tomorrow morning. I believe I've done all I can do in this town for now. There's a few things I'll have to take along. The thing I set out to do today, I believe so I even said so this morning. This morning because it was after midnight. And I did not manage to phone the office of student grant / loans known as rant. Just because I can't deal with it mentally. I last phoned them on the 22nd of May, which is now just over a month ago. Today is the 25th of June. And that was a 4-minute phone call, and I've had it on my mind ever since. And I can't deal with that at this time, so I might just have to ask some people to reach out for me, because I believe legally I am entitled to the money, and they haven't responded to the correspondence I sent them. When I phoned a month ago, they said, if every time you phone it'll be further delayed. But since then I have had my current standing application granted, and I am getting BAföG at this time, which is good because I wouldn't be able to pay rent without it. But they haven't addressed the issue which have been in the room since the 27th of March, which is them owing me money from February and March. And with the new application having been granted, they now also owe me for December and January, because they actually took what I owe because they paid it out, and at their current state of affairs, I am not entitled to it. They took that money off of the money I got now, so they are in debt about £1,000, I believe, close to, and I will need the money. So I'll have to figure some way of addressing that. I guess I'll just take the bureaucracy with me, and perhaps address that during the migration, and or ask me mum to help me. I don't like asking for help, but in the end of the day, if I can't deal with it, I need it to be dealt with. And the only other way I'd know of dealing with it is showing up in their office, but they're not open for public at this time. So I'd be not asked for the moment I show up there, which would not put them in a position to act in my favour. For if I'm there already without being asked for because they don't offer appointments, they might not even listen to what I have to say. And I really don't want to phone them, because if 4 minutes, which is a very small fraction of the past month, have stuck in my head for over a month now, just because it was an abysmal experience, I would not want another one of that nature. And I actually sat in front of, lied with the phone in my hand this morning as it was time to phone them, and then I decided, F this, it's not worth it. I'll have to find some other way of sorting this. Worst case, I'll have to find a lawyer. I mean, I really don't like interacting with lawyers and so on, but I highly suspect I'll mind less interacting with a lawyer than having to phone that person again. And I do not know who else to phone. So perhaps I'll have to get a lawyer. Good news is I am not in a hurry. I only need the money by the end of next quarter, so I got best part of 3 months before I really need the money. I will really need it though, so that's a bit problematic, slightly. I believe I'm fully entitled to it, and they simply forgot about it. I highly suspect legally I do have to remind them. Then again, I did remind them on the 22nd of May and was shouted at for reminding them. So, you know, I reminded them a month ago. I guess I can remind them again later on, but if so, then I'll want to figure out a different way. Worst case, I'll have to do it in writing, which still is not as bad as an onset as having them on the phone, which is kind of an odd thing, because usually I prefer the phone. I guess I just really don't like being shouted at, you know. One other official thing is, because it took a while for that to be granted, my release from TV tax, or the German Rundfunkbeitrag, which is radio contribution, my exemption from that only came through not that long ago. I sent it off immediately because I already have an outstanding bill to something I should not have to pay in the first place. They received it on the 20th, so 5 days ago, and just yesterday I received a letter which was slightly concerned. Well, not yesterday, this morning. Big difference, whole hour and a half difference. I received a letter from them which is a payment reminder. Then again, that letter was sent on the 18th, and they only received my exemption request to be exempt from the radio contribution. They only received that on the 20th. So I highly suspect they sent this without knowing they were about to receive something. Good news is I have proof of them receiving it. It's horrible how you have to document everything and keep a paper trail. One would really think cooperative communication and all. But in the end of the day, it's much the same with the Office for Student Loans / Grants. I have to keep a paper trail of everything, which is, I guess, why I'm very happy that I did video myself throwing that letter into their mailbox with a date written on the back of the letter of when it was. It was 3:15 p.m. on the 27th of March of this year. They were open on the 28th, and my deadline was the end of March, which means they would have received it Friday morning, which would have been the 28th, which was still March. So they have no excuse. And I documented it. So that's something, you know. Covering my arse. Then again, what's it good for if they don't respond and just ghost you? Or if you phone them, you get shouted at, you know. It's kind of smart. I really would have loved to sort this affair before leaving town, but I guess I'm not gonna. Another affair I wouldn't mind sorting sometime, but I can just as well sort where I migrate to, is there is a minor crack in the windshield here. Stone chip. It's not even a crack. And because I have partial coverage with my insurance, I do not have to pay a penny to have that fixed. So another thing I have to take along for my multi-annual migration is my documents for insurance, so I can use my insurance number to get that fixed. Nice thing is you can book appointments online. You don't have to interact with any humans. You just show up and they do it quick, half an hour, and you're ready to roll. And you don't got to pay a penny, assuming you got minimum partial coverage, which I do. So that's something I'll want to do, because eventually that stone chip would turn into a crack. Optimally, I'd have done it already, or be doing it before leaving town, but I haven't got the capacity at this time, so I shan't. Another thing I did want to do, I don't know if I will, because it's running close with time-ish. Yeah. It's running close-ish with time, there we go. Is I want to get the car cleaned. Cost $14, totally worth every penny of it. But I highly suspect I may not be able to do that. Same as I want to go buy a barber joint to get my tips cut of my hair and have my beard dressed nicely, because I don't do the greatest of jobs, and if I'm already having the tips of my hair cut, might as well have someone professional do that as well, you know. Then I'm not rocking this here, but something neat and tidy for 2 days until this other shit grow back. Which would be a real ample opportunity to take passport pictures for both disability ID, which I still have to apply for the ID off, though I am legally disabled. I have a certificate saying I am disabled, but I still need to apply for ID. And it would give me all I need to ask for an appointment for a passport, because I currently do not hold a passport. That's something I'll have to figure out. Gotta love appointments. My thesis supervisor reached out today about appointments for colloquium to both me and the second examiner. I sent them a response with my proposed appointment, with the reminder of when my final deadline is, and that there won't be chance for many appointments because I got to write 40 pages. And all of that is due in a month and 4 days in print. So I'll have to have a digital version in less than a month. That's something we'll have to sort out, I guess. Below they stated, because apparently they haven't done supervision before. This is my first supervision, so correct me if I'm wrong. Below my response, I did this is my first academic title, so correct me if I'm wrong. Just for the kecks, you know. On my way to the T-joint earlier, I had an interesting interaction in traffic, I guess I'd call it. Conversation, almost. At a green light, the person in front of me was on their phone, but it was multiple lanes, so I switched lanes and then the lights turned red just as they were starting to get going, and I was getting close to the lights. They continued on their phone, and eventually they looked at me, and I mimicked the phone, you know, and shook my head. And they were pointing at the lights, saying, "Oh yeah, the light's red. See, I can do on the phone." I told them, "Well, yeah, but a moment ago it was green. I was stuck behind you, and you weren't moving." They didn't take too kindly to that. I don't think they understood. And then I told them, "You are operating heavy machinery. The thing you're operating got the power to kill many people. Why not be responsible about it? Grow up, you know. Not grow up, get a job, but just grow up. Be responsible." Which I guess is a common theme. In my eyes, part of being grown up is acting responsibly toward others. And operating heavy machinery such as motor vehicles responsibly is part of that. Hell, even light machinery or medium machinery, whatever you want to call a motorcycle. I mean, they still weigh more than a human. They still got the power to kill people. The only thing in favour of people not having to be as responsible with a motorcycle as with a different kind of motor vehicle is the idea that they themselves should have some spirit of self-preservation, to the point where they might not want to unalive themselves as rapidly. Whereas with a different kind of motor vehicle, such as a car, that does not play as much role, because you are in a metal box after all. Today's drink of choice is Paulana Spezi again. Again, not from my crate, though I have a crate at home. Because I was shopping, and now after this shopping I will have enough bottles to have a full-on crate by the time it's empty. It's not empty yet, so I'll have to do that when I'm back, I guess. From the migration, I guess. That's something I'll have to sort then. I actually spent surprising amounts of money on snacks for the road. Spent a solid 10-15 bucks. Not too responsible, but hey. Also got myself some sandwich bread again. Toast bread, but it's not toasted, so it's just sandwich bread. Last week, yeah, it was last week, I got myself some proper bread. I believe it was rye and potato bread, but one of them grew mouldy within a couple of days, so I've had to chuck that out. And I highly suspect the other one, which I've had half of, is not going to be good for long, so I'll have to chuck that eventually as well. Good news about the sandwich bread is there's nothing alive in it, so I know that's going to be good until I hit the road tomorrow. Which means I'll be able to make some sarnies for the road, you know. Because part of being adult, I guess, meal prep. In across the border, I did buy some cigarettes again. Spent not insignificant amount of money, not quite the legal minimum for bringing across borders as a private citizen, but as close as one can get in cartons, so total of 4 cartons of cigarettes. And I did get a pallet, a crate. It's not really a crate, but for the sake of argument, I believe in the English language it is called a crate of Monster energy drinks, just because they're really not expensive. I believe it's 16, no it's not 16, I believe it's 20 for 17 euros. So worth, you know, in my book. With the cigarettes, I am going to have to decide whether to take them into the flat or not. Because with not having active cigarettes in the flat, I do smoke significantly less while at home. So that's something worth aspiring to. Then again, I don't know if I'd want more in the car. Something I'll have to figure out. And other good news, I guess, because I'm a little pack rat, or not so little, but because I'm a pack rat, I've actually found another pouch of the good tobacco at home. I had it in the front pouch of a bag, because always got to have a spare, so every bag presumably have a spare in the front, you know, being prepared and all, even though I'm not a Boy Scout. Which means I ain't got to spend money on tobacco all too soon, and I might actually, once I've migrated for the while, I may just cross the border to Luxembourg, Schengen, the place the treaty is named after, to tank up on diesel, because I'll be low again once I've migrated and driven around for a week, just with daily errands, you know, and get a kilo of tobacco. Then again, I don't believe I'll be able to afford a kilo of tobacco, so got to look, because at the end of the day, a kilo of tobacco there saved me in the range of 150 bucks, assuming I were to buy it as individual pouches over here, or as cartons over here. So that's a lot of money, you know. But if I can't afford it, I'll just have to be smoking less. Oh no. Or I'll pay the poor tax of buying the more expensive German pouches. Which, for not so well off people economically, is a tax. And for the well off, they don't care. The median is where you can save the money. My flat is in a mostly presentable state. My bedding is now also washed, so I'll be able to sleep on fresh bedding tonight, which means I'll likely want to have a shower before I go to bed. With my current circadian rhythm, I believe I'll actually go to bed at like 2 in the AM or so. This morning I managed my 3:30 I'd aimed for sleeping, and I believe I was asleep pretty much around then. So that's something. Weather today. Earlier it was a real nice morning, so last I talked, because I don't think I gave a weather update then, it was slightly foggy, which is very pleasant. Right now we have blue skies, 25.5 degrees centigrade, fairly high humidity, sunny. Sun is about to set, so probably got 10-15 minutes before golden hour start, and it'll have set in an hour and 10 minutes. I know that because on Friday we had summer solstice, and it's set at about 9:30 in the PM, which means it's going to set before then today. magical how that works. I have hooked up the microphone to the stereo in the car, which I am pleasant. I am pleasant with, yeah, exactly. I am rather happy about. The thing I still have to figure out is where to hang it, because currently, let me actually take you off the mount for a change. Currently, there we go. This bundle hang on my gear stick, which is not optimal because eventually the wire will break internally if I keep moving it with the gear stick, you know. So that's something I have reason to change, because I don't want to be breaking my mic wire. There we go. Now I have the bundle loose, and this is how it hangs on the gear stick. I'll have to find somewhere else to hang it, or some other way of hanging it. I am now distracting myself again by trying to solve this problem in real time, which is not the point. There we go. Stop solving it in real time. Fuck yeah. This is going to be a very dense period, the next 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. 2 to 3 weeks, maybe. I'm going to have to spend a hell of a time writing, and I'm not looking forward to it just because it's not manual penmanship. I mean, I'll do some of that, but that's mainly for research, which I'm fairly happy with my current status quo. Most of the work I'll have to do is typing, and though I can type like 7.5 fingers or so, self-taught. We did learn 10-finger typing in school, but I already done my 7.5 fingers quicker than my peers could do 10 fingers, so I was happy. It's bad practice, but it work, you know. It's not stupid if it work. So that's something I'll have to sort. I'll have to type hella. 40 pages. Admittedly, I don't believe the briefing anywhere says which size pages, but for the sake of being reasonable, I shall assume they mean thin A4 pages, so 21.5 by 29.5 centimeters, with reasonable margins. Theoretically, I can adjust the page size to what I like. Practically, I don't think I'd get away with it. Just, you know, it'd be funny going just slightly below the norm page size and saving 1 or 2 pages that way, but it's not worth the risk. Then again, my academic work is actually a cooperative communication environment. Due to me choosing my own supervisor and my second examiner myself. Which means they both know me, they both know I try and do a good job. And that's going to make my life easier. But I mustn't slack because of that. Let myself slack. There we go. I actually got myself some authentic After 8 chocolates because they were on sale to be cheaper than the knockoffs. Didn't get much beside bread, milk, some snacks for on the road. Got a couple of energy drinks for the road, though I got plenty of Monster Energy. I figure I might want something different as well, so I got a bit of a selection. And I've got 3 bottles of this stuff, so my crate is complete and I have a spare. Today, driving across the border was basically the comfort version of trucking. Slow and steady wins the race while I was sticking precisely to the speed limits. Precisely, not precisely. There we go. Something that's really fun and make driving pleasurable, I guess, in my book. I know I'm not norm, so, you know. I believe at some points in time it might have been annoying for the people behind me, but the only reason they were behind me is because they went above the speed limit frequently. I can say because I accelerated as quickly as possible and built up a solid gap, and then I maintained the speed limit, yet they kept getting closer. And then again, that's not enough above the speed limit. How much quicker they got closer, as to be a finable offence, and the plod wouldn't give a shit if it were. So, you know, everything can be finable as long as it's not fine. No one is going to care. which I guess is just a sad artifact of the society. People think rules are there as obstacles, whereas they are there for purpose. Admittedly, the one bit I don't like about German rules of the road is the fact that speed limits are designed with a tolerance upward. Because they are supposed to be limits, which means you cannot go further. But because because the people designing the speed limits and where to set which speed limit know the speed limits aren't being enforced to the letter, they have tolerance within their speed limit. So you might be fine to do 60, even according to the people who ordered the signs, whereas the signs say 50, which in my opinion is just contradictory, self-contradictory. And yeah, it might be fine to do 60 there, but if they were to put 60 signs, people would do 70, which might not be fine. But then there's people like me who decide, hey, I'm going to obey the rules because I have not the energy to question every decision made by the road planners. They do it for their full-time job, which means I can't dedicate as much time as them. Particularly as there is more than one road planner and I am but a singular person. I got to somehow trust others because I can't decide everything myself. The system is too large for me to be doing that. Otherwise, we wouldn't need democracy and officers of different departments and different departments of officers. But the reason we have those is to distribute the workload that a society need, or decides to have. Not everything is necessary. Oh well, that's just the way it is. One think following the rules is an idiot-proof, easy thing to do, but so many people do not remotely manage. I don't get it, because apparently they're all so smart, so many people, yet they can't abide by simple orders of, this is your limit, you cannot go faster. What do? They go faster and faster. Sorry for the German accent, I just had to try. I just had to try. I think sometimes there is too many rules. For example, with Film Club, we have a page of guidelines. A page of guidelines of behaviour and so on, community guidelines. One can also just rephrase them as, do not be a dick. Not the short form of Richard, but in character. Act in good faith. Problem solved. All the rest is unnecessary. It's just words to make it look official. In my opinion. Admittedly, I did not write the rules. I do not understand why they are the way they are, but I highly suspect, do not be a dick, wanker, twat, cunt, whatever you want to say. Be an adult, act as such, is synonymous to a page worth of guidelines. And in my opinion, it can actually say more. Because with a page of guidelines saying, oh, this is not acceptable and this is not acceptable, if something come up after you've written that page that can be a differentiating factor between people and was not seen as such at the time of writing, what you have written is immediately outdated and or discriminative of the people differentiated by that, because that is not explicitly named, whereas other things are. Then again, if I were to try and construct a society, I'd have guidelines and rules. Things like speed limits. I don't think I'd want specific speed limits. There'd be guidelines for the speed limits. You should be doing approximately this much. And there'd be rules of you shouldn't be doing more than this much, but I'd probably post the guidelines. Because, surprise, your vehicle changes how quick you can go. Other traffic, the weather, how well you can see, how far you can see, due to weather, circumstance, time of day, all those factors, all impact how fast it is safe to drive. For a motorcycle, it can go 150 and come to a stop certainly quicker than a lorry doing 100, you know. Like, come on. It's less mass. It's less momentum. Even though the mass is squared. I believe it is. Yeah. I mean, you've got to weigh a lot more to have a lot longer braking distance, but lorries do weigh a lot more than motorcycles. In fact, on a lorry, you can fit a lot of motorcycles before it's overloaded. Depending on your lorry, more than you can fit by space. And I do understand that for the sake of simplicity, with posted rules, one cannot simply post different speed limits for different types of vehicles because they're all sharing the common space of the road. But that's why, in my opinion, there should not be such a thing as limits on roads that are within reason to be driving at normal times for normal people in whatever vehicle they may be in. For if you're driving an extra heavy haul lorry, let's say 100 metric tons, you aren't going to be doing 60, even if 60 is allowed. But because of that, you'll also drive when there is lower traffic, and that's alright. A lot of rules should be guidelines. That way one wouldn't have to enforce them. And it would be way easier to enforce what one does enforce, the rules that is. For if I say guideline speed in this road is 50, drive safe. Oh, by the way, if you're doing more than 150, we reserve the right to take your license and car from you. You won't see people doing 130 in this road, just because 130 is mostly not safe. If you have an accident then, oh, how quick were you going? Oh, more than 50? Oh, well, you get more of the blame then, you know. I mean, that's how they are with the German Autobahn. A lot of the time, people going quicker than 130, which I have done on several counts. In fact, most recently when I was on the Autobahn I did, because 130 is quite easy to crack even with this shit, you know. If you have an accident, unless the other person totally caused it by ramming you, you will get part of the blame. Which is only fair, because you shouldn't be operating your motor vehicle, which is, again, heavy machinery, quicker than it is safe for you to be doing so. Like they've done it on the Autobahn, they still pull over people who go significantly above the rest of traffic, because that is, in the eyes of the law, unsafe, which it might very well be in reality. But that opened up arbitrary enforcement, which guidelines and hard limits would not as much open up for, in my opinion. Then again, I've only thought about this for a few years. The rules of the road we have in this country are more than double my age, most of them. So then again, there is some which are less than 4% of my age. Got to balance the scales, you know. Not all rules should be guidelines, but there should be guidelines, and there should not be remotely as many rules, which should be brutally enforced, because that's the point of rules. If you want rules to act as guidelines, then call them fucking guidelines. Proposal. By the way, thank you very much for sticking around. I truly appreciate it. Like, there is this one bridge in town, well, in town I say, is going out of town, is on B1, so Federal Street 1, Lichtenberger Brücke, which is the bridge of Lichtenberg, which is a part of town, and is right next to a station called Lichtenberg, so it's rather logical where it is, where there is a posted speed limit, so you cannot go faster, of 30 if it's wet. I have been there in pouring rain, doing 30, with everyone, including the plod, going by me a lot quicker than 30. Most of them probably over 50, some of them probably around 50. And the plod did not care, for they might have had different things to do, but one would think they'd notice at least, even if they have different things to do and they have special rights to be going above the speed limit, they'd at least notice everyone else is also going above the speed limit, and at some point in time set up enforcement there. Because 50 in a post at 30 after measuring is still a lot of money for the state, or the town in this case. And they are frequently accused of just doing speed traps for money, so nah. And even if not, it make the road a safer place, assuming the speed limit is posted there legally for a reason, with someone who spend their time, make a living thinking about why to post a speed limit. You know, I mean, I can tell you some of the fault, because in this specific case I've spent some time thinking about it. It's because the bridge, it can be windy, and if it's cold, you can have black ice rather quickly. It's my high suspicions. Then again, it's not if it's cold and wet, it's just if it's wet. Which means that should be a guideline, not a rule. Yeah, I'm getting myself wound up about this. To loop back around to the Office of Student Loans / Grants, I really don't want to phone that person again, because they shouted at me last time for 4 minutes. But in that, I am giving them control over my life, for I am letting them influence my decision of picking up the phone and phoning them. Which might be in their interest, but it's not in mine. I don't want to be controlled by someone. But also, I'm not going to, just because I don't want to be controlled by someone, I'm not going to significantly worsen my quality of life by phoning them. I mean, probably the best solution is just to lodge an official complaint, but then again, that's a load of bureaucracy. Red tape, you know. I actually found some red tape at home. Literal red tape. Red electrical tape. Ha ha. Guess I should actually carry that in the car for the memes. By the way, thanks a lot. I know I've just said it a couple of minutes ago, but anyways, thanks a lot for sticking around watching this. It means the world to me. I hope if you are in control of a government, you end up doing more guidelines and fewer rules. I certainly will try my best once I am in control of a government, should that ever happen. If so, it'll likely be my own government, but who knows. Stay safe, I'll see you around. Cheerio.